All right, let's get right into it. This is a dark one, a twisting story about a city, a string of savage murders, and, well, the monster they brought in to fix it all.
That quote really says it all, doesn't it? Effective, not good. And this whole story is about what that effectiveness really looked like, and the absolutely terrifying price that everyone had to pay for it.
So let's start with the man himself. In the city, the name Inspector Joshi was, well, it was kind of like how animals think of fire. You know it can be useful, but you also know it's deadly, totally unpredictable, and can burn you bad.
Yeah, his anger wasn't just a rumor. It was legendary. His methods? Brutal. The higher-ups were always suspending him. But guess what? They always called him back. He was the guy they pulled out for the cases that nobody, and I mean nobody, else could even touch. He was their last resort, the weapon they kept locked up until things got really, really bad. I mean, his own wife left him. She said living with him was like trying to sleep next to a loaded gun. That tells you everything you need to know.
47. Just let that sink in. 47 official complaints for excessive force. And this is the real paradox of Inspector Joshi, right? For every complaint filed against him, and we're talking about things like literally punching a hole through a wall in an interrogation room, there was this unofficial win for a city that was just drowning in crime. So yeah, people hated his methods, but they were absolutely addicted to the results.
Okay, so that's the setup, and then the murders start. And these aren't just any murders. These are so incredibly violent, so full of rage, that they felt personal, even to a guy like Joshi, who's seen it all.
And look at how fast this is happening. Day 1, a body. Just 3 days later, another one. 2 days after that, a third. They're just appearing, one after the other, each one a brutal copy of the last. The pace is just relentless. It's a huge sign that the killer isn't just calmly checking names off a list. No, this feels like someone caught in their own personal hurricane of violence.
So as Joshi digs in, a pattern starts to emerge. This isn't random. This is targeted vengeance. The killer's signature is the pure, raw force of it. The throat isn't cut, it's crushed. And the victims? This is the kicker. They were all key witnesses in a factory explosion case from 5 years back, a case that Joshi himself had worked, and one that just fell apart, breaking something inside him when all the witnesses suddenly changed their stories.
So all the evidence, all the threads, they start to lead to one single suspect. But here's the thing. The guy is the complete opposite of what you'd expect. His quiet, calm nature almost feels like it's mocking Joshi's own rage, which is always just simmering right under the surface.
And just look at this contrast. It's fascinating, right? On one side you have the inspector, legendary anger, brutal force, fists covered in scars. And on the other, the suspect, Raghav Mehta, just too calm, a guy who does quiet research, whose hands never even shook during questioning. One is a hurricane, a man with scarred knuckles and a rap sheet of complaints. The other, he's the creepy calm right before the storm hits, a quiet social worker with clean hands and an even cleaner record.
And then, in the interrogation room, Mehta says this, "You're angry, Inspector. That usually means you're close." That's it. Those words were the trigger. It was so calm, so simple, but it was like it set off a bomb inside Joshi. He completely loses it, beats a confession out of Mehta. And, just like that, case closed.
But the killings didn't stop. And right here, this is the exact moment where the whole case, and honestly Joshi's entire reality, just completely shatters.
Imagine Joshi sitting in his dark apartment, and the news comes on. 2 days later, another body, killed in the exact same way, that same signature rage. The case wasn't closed, not even close.
So this is the question, right? The question that changes everything. Raghav was in custody. He confessed. So, who was the killer? How is this possible?
And just then, his phone rings. It's a blocked number. He picks it up, and there's a voice he knows. It says, "You missed me." And the scariest part? It's a perfect copy of his own rough, gravelly voice.
But here's the thing. It wasn't a mimic. The voice was his own. The call leads him to this abandoned police facility. He finds a room full of mirrors and video screens. And playing on those screens is him. He's watching himself commit the murders. And suddenly, it all clicks into place in the most horrifying way possible. All those buried psych reports from the department, the blackouts he couldn't explain, that uncontrollable rage, it all makes sense. This is a real thing, a dissociative episode. Severe trauma can literally fracture your mind. It can create this other self, a part of you that holds all the rage and does the things your conscious mind just can't handle. That failed factory case? That was the trigger that broke him. Joshi wasn't just having blackouts, he was a passenger in his own body while someone else was driving.
So think about it. Joshi had been hunting himself the entire time. And Raghav Mehta, that quiet guy, he wasn't the killer, he was a researcher. He had figured out what was wrong with Joshi. He didn't cause it, but he guided it. He gave these little nudges, pointing Joshi's rage, turning the inspector himself into the weapon of justice that the system failed to be. Joshi's own trauma was the murder weapon.
So once the horrifying truth is out, Joshi does the only thing he can. He turns himself in. But the way the city reacted, nobody saw that coming.
See, the families of the original factory victims, they didn't curse him. They thanked him. The men Joshi killed were the ones who had gotten away with it, using bribes and lies. So Joshi, this broken, messed up tool, he gave them the justice the courts couldn't. And that's the really disturbing part, isn't it? When the system fails that badly, does it create a space that only a monster can step into and fix? Those families seem to think so.
So Joshi gets a life sentence. And in prison, knowing the truth, he finally finds this strange kind of peace. He's quiet, controlled. But, a useful monster is never truly put away. The day came when a massive riot broke out. The guards were losing control, and they needed a monster. And they knew exactly which cell door to open.
And as that cell door swings open, the story says he smiled. For the first time, his anger wasn't just chaos, it had a purpose. He wasn't just a weapon of vengeance anymore. He was now an official instrument of order. And that leaves us with a really unsettling question to think about. When a society creates a monster like Joshi, is its only job to build a cage for it, or is it also responsible for where that monster aims?